This episode of the Knives Illustrated podcast is brought to you by Southern Edge Knife Works. Southern Edge Knife Works is located at southernedgeknifeworks.com and in person in beautiful North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right in the heart of Barefoot Landing. Let your spouse shop for sand dollars or conch shells or whatever it is they buy while on vacation, and you can slip away and visit Southern Edge to shop for a new knife. Check out brands such as Protech, Benchmade, Spyderco, WE, Cold Steel, Kaiser, and many, many, many more. And if you want to shop online or in person, you can use the code KISEK either in store or online to get 15% off and free shipping in the continental US. And if you want to get some souvenirs for your significant other, if you're down there in person, yeah, they have those as well. Again, you can shop Southern Edge Knife Works online at southernedgeknifeworks.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Knives Illustrated podcast. Yes, the very first one. This is going to be a bi-weekly podcast here on Knives Illustrated where we're going to have interviews with some of the movers and shakers in the knife industry, whether it be makers, designers, some content providers. I will be your stalwart host. I am Brian Ball. I am the editor of Knives Illustrated. I'm really enjoying the job so far. I am pretty new on the scene, but it's been an honor to take it over, and it's been a lot of fun. And this is something I thought would be cool to add in, so you have something for your ear holes, not just for your eyes. So this is primarily an audio podcast. So I want to talk more about the makers and what makes them tick, or the content providers, or whoever we have on the channel, because the knives are kind of a visual format. So I think it'd be good just to kind of get down in the weeds a little bit, find out some history, find out a little bit about what makes these men and women of the industry tick. So that's going to be kind of the format here, just one-on-one interviews. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Our first episode is with Dave Wattenburg from Protech. I love Protech. They're a great company. And Dave is just an amazing human. Anyone who's met him, he's always in a good mood. He always has a lot to say. And he's a very, very enthusiastic man. And I'm very excited to have him as our first guest. And without further ado, let's get to it. Here's my interview with Dave Wattenburg from Protech. So here we are, everybody, with Dave Wattenburg from Protech, one of my favorite companies, and hopefully one of yours as well. Thank you guys, or thank you so much, sir, for coming out and joining us. I said, guys, it's only one of you. I can see on the screen. Thanks so much for coming out and spending your time with us. I know you're a very busy dude right now.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having us on. Excited to do it.
Yeah, you were one of the first companies I thought of to reach out to because I've met you at Blade Show. We've conversed a little bit since then, and just you're just one of the nicest, easiest going guys. And I thought maybe you'd be patient with me as I learned how to do this on episode number one.
No problem at all. It's a treat to be on episode number one. It seems like a great idea to get some more information out to folks on these different digital platforms. Great idea. Thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah, it's the future, I hear.
Yeah,
digital
no doubt.
Stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, especially now with what's been going on in the world, it's everybody's doing all these Zoom things. We're recording this on Zoom. You're not seeing our faces, but yeah, it's everybody's has to learn how to do all that stuff now.
Yep, it has to do it now. The kids out of school, knife shows postponed and up in the air. It's definitely the way things are getting done these days.
Yeah, it's a good thing our kids are out of school because we can ask them how to do this.
Absolutely.
I know that's definitely what I've done. But thank you guys, or thank you so much for coming on. I do want to talk first of all about some knives because that's what we're here for. We're going to get into some other historical stuff as the interview goes on, but you have an amazing new model out, which I actually just put up on a review of it on my YouTube channel, Slice It Icy. That's not affiliated with KI, but my personal YouTube channel, the Malibu.
Oh yeah, Buttonlock flipper.
I hope you guys are ramped up to make a lot of those.
You know, the first production run is going to be pretty, limited numbers. But yeah, I know it's going to be a hit. We've already got more steel coming in from Niagara Crucible. We're definitely going to gear up to build some more of them. Right out of the gate, there'll be that Warncliffe blade shape that you have, and then also a reverse Tonto. We're even cooking up some 3D machined titanium frames, some Damascus. Figured we couldn't miss these days with Chad Nichols' virus pattern, so that's what we're using.
Yeah,
we've got all kinds of stuff cooking on that model.
This knife's going to cost me a lot of money. I have a feeling. I really do like it. It was one that when you guys showed it at SHOT Show, it was one of my most anticipated of 2020, and it did not disappoint at all. It was exactly what I thought it would be. And I know in my comments, people are like, "When can I get one? When can I get one? When can I get one?" And the first run of them is pretty imminent. This isn't gonna go out for a week or so, but, it's pretty imminent, right?
Yeah,
Like early June, you said?
correct. So the first batch of Warncliffe were actually on the bench while you and I are talking right now. They're out in the shop building solid black handles with stonewash blades and also blue handle with stonewash blades. Those are all Warncliffes. Those will ship in the next week or two. And so, yeah, first part of June, dealers will have them in stock. And then about a month after that, so say early July, we'll see the reverse Tontos and then some flow of the titanium customs as well.
Great. Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the custom ones. I had previously said if I ever got a custom Protech, it'd probably be a Newport, but now I'm kinda like, "Oh, I don't know. I really like the Malibu a lot." I
We
might
might have to get you both.
might have to get both, might have to get both. Um, Another one that I just got my hands on, and thank you so much for allowing me to get my hands, because you don't make many of these, and I didn't realize how few of these you make. I got a Harkins ATAC.
Oh, the Harkins double action. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful knife. Definitely a nightmare on the manufacturing side, but we do sneak them out in a small production run every few years.
Yeah, it's like every 4 years you make what, 100, 150 of them, something like that?
Yeah, 200. And then this time we've got a little, what would have been a couple of things to bring to Atlanta, here in a couple of weeks, first weekend of June, normally scheduled. We've got some stainless steel frame custom ATACs with abalone
Yeah,
inlays
I've seen some
and
pictures of those. Oh
yeah,
my
even some
lord.
Bouchard engraved ones. Holy smokes.
Yeah. This one is plain enough that I feel okay carrying it.
Yep.
So I think I'm gonna stick with this one. I don't think I'm gonna jump on the custom because I just would never carry it. I would just sit and stare at it and drool over it.
Understood.
But this one, I've been carrying the snot out of it. And what I like is that you hand it to somebody and they have no clue it's an automatic. Like,
Oh yeah, short of a hardcore knife collector, you can open, close it, and nobody knows, that the spring is hidden underneath there. And Jeff Harkins, I've always been a big fan of his designs. So sleek and so elegant, and then on top of it, squeezing in this mechanical system that's fantastic. Yeah, he's really been one of my favorite custom knife makers from way back.
and what I was surprised, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised because I've been a fan of your company for a while. Well, actually, not for that long. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I was expecting it to either be kind of a mediocre auto or kind of a mediocre flipper, but it's great both ways. It's super smooth as a manual,
Hmm.
and it still snaps like a ProTech as an auto, and that's pretty amazing. I just thought some way you'd have to compromise a bit to make one work. You
Yeah,
know?
and on that knife, like everything we build as we go through the different production groups over years, we try to come up with ways to take it up a notch. And that Harkins model has the first 3D machine titanium clip that we ever made. It's screwed in from the inside. It's all curved. It's like a 42-minute cycle time to machine the pocket clip. And then even the little
Wow.
thumb stud or kind of a disc that's on top of the blade, those we machine in house. So there's a lot of love in each one of those Harkins ATAC, for sure.
That is a knife I for sure will not be taking apart. I want
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty confident in my skills, but that one I don't think I'm gonna go near. Another one I've had on the channel recently, and another one I know that's doing good for you guys is the Invictus. Can you, talk a bit about how that wound up becoming a Protech model and not through Prometheus Design Works?
Sure. So I've known Patrick from PDW, since way back, and been a fan of his stuff. And we built the autos for him for his distribution originally, and then made some slight modifications to it and brought it into our own catalog. And that's been a pretty common or popular theme on some of these collaboration knives where we give the collaboration partner a chance at the very beginning to get the knives out first to their most you know
Mhm.
ardent followers, the
Yeah.
folks who've purchased everything from them, and then transfer it into our own catalog where we get to sell it, make some little modification, maybe a different push button or some kind of different thing so you can tell where it came from. But we're really proud to be able to offer that knife. It's such a neat design. It's so unique, and the action is fantastic. It's a really good model. And in fact, we're talking to them about doing the button lock flipper version of that maybe next year.
Ooh, you heard it here
Yeah.
first on Knives Illustrated podcast. No, yeah, that would be great. No, because a lot of people love your products and don't realize that, you do make some that are non-auto.
From
And I
time to
think
time, and
I think a lot of
more
people think of you
more
as just
coming.
being purely an auto company. And yeah, I've seen that you are slowly transitioning into doing more manuals. I mean, you guys did the Mordax for Fair and Forge and Drop, which that was universally loved by myself included. Great design, great knife, and ridiculously fun, smooth action.
Oh yeah,
And the Malibu is pretty much that. I said in the video it doesn't drop quite as quick, but that's just physics. The Mordax
exactly.
has
The
that much
way,
larger, heavier blade. Of course, it's going to drop faster, but it's still just as smooth. And yeah, I'm excited to see more manuals out of you guys. So I've been kind of on an auto
thanks.
kick lately, but I'm still excited to see more manuals. And the auto
Excellent.
kick is partly your company's fault. So
It's how we make a living. We
yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, the first one I had was the Mordax. I got
Yep.
I think at the time I went to Blade Show, I think I just had a prototype of the Mordax that Drop sent
Hmm.
me. And then I walked up to your booth, met you, and you handed me an SBR, and I loved it. It was just so much
Oh,
fun. It wasn't
yeah,
the color I
fantastic knife.
wanted because it was the last day of Blade Show. So I did sell that one and get the color I wanted, but I still have an SBR,
Excellent.
but I'm pretty boring. I just wanted the black and the stonewash. And I think the one I had was green and acid wash. But the autos just become very, very addicting. That Protech bang, as I call it, when you push that button, I always say, she bangs on, on my videos, but they all just kick like the proverbial mule, and they're a lot of fun. But now let's go back a bit. We talked about some new stuff. How did you guys get started? I'm a recent fan of the company. I started and got into them about a year and a half ago. I have 8 of them now, but I still don't really have a whole idea of like how you guys got going.
So back in the 90s, I had graduated from college, and I had a pretty good head start in the knife industry because my dad and uncle own a retail knife store. So I did grow up around the retail side of knives. And when I graduated from college, I started doing a couple different jobs, and I ended up being a middle school teacher for several years. I was living in Colorado at the time and trying to get a start, trying to buy my first little townhouse and kind of get things going. I decided to supplement my teacher income by doing some gun shows and knife shows on weekends. And back then, before Protech, the Finer Points was the company name, and I was a dealer. I was a buyer and seller. I'd buy production knives, and then eventually got into buying and selling custom knives. And back then, a lot of autos, people wanted autos, but the options were very limited. Benchmade made a couple. White Wolf knives was a thing. Like there were a few of them out there, but not too
Hmm.
much to choose from. And it was the first thing that I would always sell out of when I went to a show. And so it occurred to me that there should be more of them. And that's how I got interested in making knives. Was just basically on the demand for them was there, and I could see that there should be more of them. So about 1998 or so, I started rounding up some ideas and some vendors, and the first batch of knives, everything was outsourced. One company made the handles, another one made the blades, and then I put them together at home on my kitchen table, and then took them down to my dad's cutlery store, and he and I sharpened them,
And
and then
those kitchen table Protects are worth a pretty penny now.
they
Yeah.
are, and it is a treat and like a time warp when they come back in for service. Sometimes we'll get one, and one of the things I really like, people have grown so attached to a knife that they've owned for 20 years that they've lost sense of time, and a lot of times they'll say, hey, I've carried that knife for 34 years. Make sure you, and even though the company isn't old enough for that to be true, they feel like they've had it that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so the first
No
couple
one has any
years,
sense of time right now
yeah,
on the whole
that's for
planet.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. And so the the cool thing was, for those first couple years, because I was still buying and selling other knives, I was still the Finer Points, and at the very beginning of Protech, I feel like it was part of the thing that really helped the company in its early stages. Was I was out with the public all the time. I
Yeah.
was doing shows constantly, and as I was just starting to come up with new models, the original runs, the TR1 and 2. I was putting them in front of people that were retail buyers. And so rather than, being in some insulated place, I was out with the people that were shopping for knives, and I could hear what they wanted. I could talk to them. And I think it's really what helped us at the beginning, and honestly helps the company today. Is I feel like we're a very responsive and dynamic company. We're always coming up with new stuff. We're always changing and evolving. And that's how we started, and that's still how we do it.
Yeah, and it's also amazing, like you just mentioned, you're still servicing knives that you made on your kitchen table, which is that's pretty amazing. Like your warranty. I've never heard anybody complain a bit about Protech customer service. Never heard a single complaint. And somehow I am the complaint department for everyone's knife company. Like, can you do something else? No, I can't do anything about that. Leave me alone. But no, I haven't heard any complaints about Protech whatsoever. So interesting. So you're in California. So I know you said this to me as half a joke once at Blade Show, but yeah, most of the knives you make, you can't legally carry.
Can't legally carry, and obviously for sale, it's very limited. We have a tremendously loyal customer base of law enforcement and military first responders here in California, and they're really the only folks that we can service directly as far as from the factory. And really here we're not set up with a showroom or any kind of retail spot. Obviously we can't.
Well, yeah, it'd be kind of pointless. Yeah,
it would. And sometimes I lament the fact that we can't have it, and then other times I don't know, maybe it's for the best. We really do get to focus on design, engineering, manufacturing, all of the customer service. And so we aren't distracted, I guess, by trying to, show somebody a few knives in a showroom or anything like that. It does give us a particular amount of focus because we can't spend time on that. So we spend all of our time designing, engineering, building, servicing the knives.
So this is a question I wasn't planning on asking, but since you talked about it in your history, so now I kind of understand why you went sort of the opposite route that a lot of companies do, or a lot of makers do, where they come out with a custom knife and then they make the production version. You kind of went the other way. You make production models, and if you want to spend $2,000 on one, I will allow you to do that, and I will make a fancy version of it. Right. But having sold custom knives and stuff, is that where that came from?
Oh, definitely. And a lot of the folks that we deal with, even now, like say, Mike Whiskers Allen, he's a guy who designed these great scale release and bolster release knives. And 25, 26 years ago, when I was on the road doing shows, I was buying and selling his custom knives. And now we build a collaboration with him that's a bolster release. And we build that knife everything from a $225 black aluminum model up to one.
Which is what I have because I'm cheap.
Practical.
Yeah, that's a better word.
All the way up to the investor collector Bruce Shaw engraved knife that won at the Blade Show a few years ago, and everywhere in between. And so it is one of the fun things about what we do is we don't just make the same knife over and over again. As soon as we get it dialed in, the moment we have the base model set and we know what to do, our mind starts to fly towards what else can we inflict on it? What crazy titanium thing, what textures, what inlays, who can we round up some. You
can inflict on it. I like that.
We can't help ourselves, and it is the fun part. Well, of what we do is that we come up with all these different variations, and it does make us unique where, a small enough custom oriented knife company that we can make a knife model in production and then also squeeze out some investor collector elite grade of the same knife model. Godfather, for example, one of the flagship knives in the line, we have it from $200 to $10,000. And that's a pretty unique thing.
Yeah, it's very unique, and I think it does a good job of satisfying newcomers and bringing in more people at the more budget end. Which I think a lot of people think Protechs are very expensive. I don't think people realize that they're not that bad. Like they're pretty reasonably priced. Yeah, for USA made, they're not bad at all. But I think that I think you and maybe Microtech too, getting the same way. People think they're horribly expensive, and they aren't. They're pretty reasonable. But also with the higher end ones, you keep your core customers satisfied also. Those true Protech nuts know that hey, if I keep my eye out, maybe I can get another really cool one that's one of 10 or one of one even sometimes with your
Well, and
stuff.
I think some of that goes back to my days as a knife dealer and watching how people would evolve their collections. Like someone would come up to the table at a gun show, knife show, whatever, and they would buy some basic knife. And then the next time you'd see them, you'd talk to them a little bit, and maybe they'd move up to something a little nicer. And then, next year or so, they've seen the Damascus, but they haven't really purchased one. Next thing you know, they're asking questions about it, and you can get them into their first Damascus. So I think part of that goes back to that origin before Protech, where I knew customers enjoyed kind of this evolution of buying knives. And I guess I like to think that in our line, we have enough options that they can accomplish that in our product line where, as they, start out with a solid black on black TR3, let's say, they bought it from an online dealer, for 160, 180 bucks. And then from there, maybe something with a stainless frame and eventually something with Damascus. And if they're inclined, hey, how about some of that Bruchon engraving someday?
Yeah.
And so we do offer folks that are into it a chance to try it at a bunch of different levels.
Yeah. It's keep them in the family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this question is a slightly a bit more of a personal nature, and I kind of wanted to surprise you this one. But I've met you and we've talked a little bit, and I know you love your job, but do you ever stop smiling?
I do, especially when we're making those Harkins. Um, there are with any small business, or I'm sure bigger ones have bigger headaches, but like there's stuff that you have to do during the day, like work comp insurance audits
Oh
and
yeah.
taxes and environmental disposal worksheets. And I mean there's plenty of it that is just no fun at all, and it's just work, and it's part of the business. You've got to get it done. It has to be done right. And I can imagine that I'm not necessarily smiling when that happens. And I think the cool thing for me, like those type of things are the behind the scenes work part of it. When I get to go out to a show, when we're out at the Blade Show or even a small California custom show here locally or something like that, that's my reward for having gotten done my taxes and my insurance and all the other junk that goes along with owning a business. The shows are the finish line. They're the reward for me. So when I'm there, of course I am all smiles. I love every minute of it. I love talking to the customers. I'm so proud of the knives that we build and being able to take this thing that didn't exist in the universe until we dreamt up that we thought someone would want it, and then we obsess about the parts, and we're making adjustments. And Jeff and Renee and Gary and everybody that works here is coming in, and they're bringing me parts, and they've made a adjustment of a couple tenths of a thousandths, and we've all lost sleep over all these little things, and then it's finally done and it's finally finished, and I get to take it to the show. It's like crack for me. I mean, I enjoy it very, very much. So I guess the parts of it that I have to do where I'm not smiling, thankfully I've done at home. And then when I'm out at a show is the fun part for me. For sure.
Well, that's great, because I think some makers are the opposite way. They just want to stay in their shop and make knives and not deal with humans. But you seem to genuinely enjoy it. Like
I do. I really do. And I think again, I guess it takes me back to my roots of, back when I used to do so many shows. And for those first couple of years of Protech, every single person that owned a Protech, I had personally sold it to them.
yeah.
And then of course we started having dealers and, all that. So the direct connection, even though I don't get to do it very often anymore, I do enjoy it very much.
Well, that explains a lot about how your business operates, that you came from that
Yeah.
background, because you can still feel it. I know that you are a fairly large knife company, but it's never ever felt that way.
Thank you.
Like my Harkins, I got out of Matt's pocket. Like I said which one I wanted, and he said, "Sorry, we don't have that one, but you know what? I just got one 2 days ago. I haven't used it. You can buy mine." And I was like, "Awesome." I think he thought I was gonna say, "No, no, no, it's okay." But he asked the wrong guy. I was like, "Awesome. What's your PayPal address?" I paid him like within 5 minutes. I was like, "No, yep, that's the one I want."
Yeah.
I didn't want a coated blade, so um, that's one I want. So we're just going to wind up with a pretty standard kind of interview question. But what is the future? I know you guys are moving into a new spot.
We are. So we're moving just down the road a piece into a larger building, and of course, with all the craziness going on these days, that's very much in slow motion.
Hmm.
But it is happening. Hopefully, in the next couple months, we'll get in there, and we have some new equipment that's already poised to move in as soon as we do. And we've grown slow but steady over these last 20 years, and the next move will be a pretty good size one as far as equipment and capacity. And so I look forward to building more knives. My favorite problem is that there's so many things I want to make, and we don't have time to get them all done. It's my favorite problem, and so I'm looking to solve that at least a little bit. And we have so many new ideas and new collaborations that people have brought to us that I'd love to get done, and even to keep up on some of the oldies but goodies.
Well, that's really great to hear you guys getting bigger because you got to make them Malibus.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
I think that's going to be a huge hit. So
Yep.
I do Knife of the Year on my YouTube channel, and it's in the running for sure so
Oh,
far.
awesome.
So I know we're early on, but it's pretty great. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. Obviously, you're busy with the move and all that, and I really do
You bet.
appreciate you spending some time with us. And yeah, we'll be having more episodes like this coming up on Knives Illustrated on our YouTube page and also wherever fine podcasts are sold. Thank you again so much, Dave, for coming and hanging
Thank
out.
you. Have a super day.
You too.
Bye.
And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of the Knives Illustrated podcast. We do have a lot more coming up, so please make sure to check us out on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else you like to consume your podcast, or on our YouTube channel, the Knives Illustrated YouTube channel, and also on our website at knivesillustrated.com. We'll be posting them there as well. And thanks again so much to our sponsor, Southern Edge Knife Works. Again, go visit southernedgeknifeworks.com, use the code KISEK at checkout and get 15% off and free shipping, or go check them out in North Myrtle Beach. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll see you in a couple weeks.